So, welcome everyone for this IoTDay interview with Tom de Vlok. And hi, Tom. Tom is well, he's a DLT and IoT veteran, and he's seen enormous amount of different types of companies, projects, institutions, and he's basically is all around and very much involved. So Tom, today we're going to discuss the confusion that there is between Web 3.0 and Web 3, and the work in the Web Accelerator, Web 3 Accelerator, the European Web 3 Accelerator that you're doing.
Yes.
So maybe you could start by telling a little bit about your work in the Web3 Accelerator, because I think it's an initiative from IoTI, isn't it?
Yes. Thanks for having me, Rob. Thanks for organizing. And yeah, indeed, the Web3 Accelerator is an initiative of the AIOTI, so the Alliance for IoT and Edge Computing Innovation. It's a new task force we created this year, recently announced in the press release, and it will help indeed to accelerate the Web3 space, and first of all also to let people understand what it actually is, because as you mentioned, there is a lot of confusion between Web 3.0, metaverse kind of things, and Web3 itself. So it's one of the things. Yes.
Yeah. And could you explain a little bit about that difference, because I think it's important to understand it.
Yes. Well, Web3 is actually a little bit of a new hyped word, which actually instead of what was called blockchain before, we call it DLT, because the B word, the blockchain word, there's a whole lot of wrong perception around it. While years ago, when you add this a blockchain chapter in one of your proposals, then most likely you would win something. But now it's more closing doors than opening because of a lot of wrong perceptions. And people still think it's, especially in industry, people think it's somewhere in a corner, it's an outdated thing in a corner, but it's absolutely not. It became a crucial infrastructure element. So it is infrastructure, not use case. And at the infrastructure, data security level and so on, business models, enabler. So it's absolutely in the middle, in the heart of what we do,
yeah.
Especially relevant to IoT space.
Yeah, I think I saw an image that you have to
Yes.
really sort of shows it well, because sometimes an image could say more than
exactly. Okay, so as you said, like sometimes an image says more than 1,000 words. We'll also share this online in the next days. 21st this month, we'll share this online. And this is a very important image to understand where we actually are. So in between the different evolutions of internet, if you take a look at infrastructure level, you see that we evolved from LAN to servers to cloud to edge IoT, and that's also where the DLT sits. DLT is actually a part of IoT. And actually, when we talk about Web3, it's the red square in this image. It involves all DLT elements, so infrastructure and also a little piece of logic in the operating systems, especially in distributed and autonomous IoT systems, when just the factor of autonomy is often written in smart contracts, so part of DLT technology. So when we speak about Web3, we speak about the infrastructure and data layer up to a piece of logic layer in the next generation internet. And so that next generation internet, let it be a decentralized infrastructure with cloud and edge and IoT, but with a different architecture. And that next generation internet is what's called Web 3.0. So there is a lot of confusion because of these terms are often used mixed, and even by domain experts, they often use the term Web 3 when they actually refer to Web 3.0.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. But I will also I will tag you in this image. We can maybe also in follow up to this share it with your community. So I think this, like you said, sometimes an image speaks more than 1,000 words. So our Web3 accelerator is about this red square important piece of infrastructure to make the next generation internet a secure, decentralized, and enabling element. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is very it was very good to show it, because I think it makes things very clear, and it also to me it's a very positive image. So it seems to finally sort of put all the pieces together. And as a basis, it has this decentralized sort of this decentralized vision, but it doesn't imply that it's fighting against, or that it's tuned against big companies or the big guys, or sort of.
No, it will coexist. It will coexist. It will coexist, and that's maybe a big difference between me, myself now, where I'm at in the last 5-6 years, and my brothers, my homies from the I call the OGs from the blockchain space.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ideology, and there was the perception that the new world is being created and it will replace the old world.
Yeah.
I changed my mind on that. It will not replace the old world, well, maybe in time, but that will be a natural evolution, but it will coexist. And my lessons learned from the last years was actually we cannot build new world infrastructure if we don't integrate with the legacy, because the legacy rules. You may like it or not like it. I also don't like it on many elements, and we can talk about that, for hours. But reality is, if we want to change things, we need to change the system from the inside. And we are in the inside of systems. We are with DLT elements. Well, I mean the DLT space, in infrastructure, in everything, in banking, in legacy, in industry, in supply chain, and everywhere. I mean, it's already ongoing. So yeah, I like the evolution, and also next generation internet. It will coexist with the current internet. All these apps and stuff. I mean, the big tech, they're not going to disappear. They're going to evolve. They're going to have a Web 3.0 element, next generation infrastructure, but they will, believe me, they will keep on fighting for their position, and they will keep on keep this Web 2.0 alive, because that's where their business model sits, the data ownership, the ownership of people, this kind of people as a product. Yeah. So it is what it is, and it will still remain. So the only thing we will do now is offer an alternative for people to opt in. So that's one of the, if we look at the high level ideas around our accelerator, is actually to bring awareness of the Web3 element for deployment and engagement in the next year.
Yeah, I think this vision that you have now is very important, and also because not only it's again this realistic positivism, sort of this approach and this coexistence, because indeed when there's too much like nice dreaming, also it's important, of course, but
ideology.
When it becomes an ideological sort of game, it's this is not what it's not necessary, I would say. Sort of it's there's no need for it, and this is what you show with that image, I think, very clearly. about this coexistence.
Exactly. Also, so the way actually people are going to use the internet, because I mean, I think whatever we say here could raise some questions with people. So in Web 2.0, we're using a lot our mobile phone. We interact with the internet through apps, or on the computer with a browser. So these things will still be the case because, I mean, unless we are maybe 50 years ahead, we will still use a mobile phone or a device to connect to next generation internet. But the infrastructure security level of these apps would be different. An app will be like a wallet, and we will connect and keep our data, our personal data, in a wallet and decide where and with who to share and for how long. And that's actually the main gain of the Web3 element. So the DLT in next generation internet is the individual data ownership. And the best way to do it, because we can talk about it and write about it and you know, do whatever, but the approach of the AIOTI since last year, since the last 2 years actually, is very much to bring the proof in the pudding with our testbeds. So we have already like 41 and growing European testbed infrastructure with our members. A lot of them are also DLT enabled. So in our accelerator, we will have a big demonstrator approach, where we also evolve to create a federated testbed infrastructure, connecting the different individual testbeds to create a market, like maybe even give the proof of the pudding of what it means, an open and fair digital single market. You know, maybe there are some people a bit above us who could also learn from this exercise. So I'm very motivated to do it, and sometimes I'm full of adrenaline because I know what's going on, and I think in some moments I'm able to look a bit ahead. I know where this is going to land or where it has the potential to land, and it's quite exciting because we are not bounded by any limits. I would even claim we have no limits, and let that be our biggest power, you know, to move fast. If we decide something tomorrow in our working group, we do it the next day. We don't need to wait for a board of directors or a European program to land over us. We can do it. We are a member-driven organization, and we open the door for new members to join the movement. And it is still a very industrial and research-driven effort. But you know us in the meantime, Rob. We go for it, huh?
Yes. You're a serial motivator, sort of. That's for sure. And indeed, you're always a little bit ahead, and that's important. It's important to be ahead and not to be too far ahead, because then you cannot connect.
To remain relevant and realistic, yeah.
Exactly. That's very, very difficult. It's a very, very difficult skill, actually.
But one of to talk the language of the industrial people. I was recently in one of these in the kickoffs of the Cloud and Edge, you know, computing continuum program, and I think it was a quite mind-blowing introduction I did, and it's also very related to, because people talk a lot, especially your crowd now, or our crowd, the IoT space experts and people from the IoT industry, talking about cloud edge IoT computing continuum. Now, the element of continuum means that in between the different mediums of data, like the cloud, the edge, and IoT data sets, there is a continuum. But to have a continuum, what you need trust. You need to be sure about the integrity of the data. Now, exactly that enabling element, you can actually talk about it as the trust continuum instead of computing continuum. So to bring trust to the continuum, to enable the continuum, you need the DLT. And if someone in the crowd here would counter that, I agree that, okay, you can also create that trust with legacy, but you face certain limitations, you face certain infrastructure challenges, while on the DLT, by definition, based on mathematics, quite easy. On the speed of a checksum, you can validate in a decentralized fashion, you can validate the trust.
Yeah.
So you can validate the integrity of your data sets. And that is a very big enabling element of the computing continuum. Now that specific element, only this element, Rob, needs to be widely spread.
Yeah.
In the community, in the IoT community. So that's also one of the things we have focus areas in the accelerator. One of them is on the industry, specific targeting on this, what I just mentioned, the computing continuum people, because it's the edge is the big move, and what Europe hopes to be a primary position. So the trust element in this computing continuum is something that our accelerator will bring to the table.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. That because technically this cloud edge continuum is basically has been in existence for quite some time. Sort of de facto, it's existing because it's happening. I think indeed it's a good approach of Europe to focus fully or mostly sort of on the edge, on this edge, especially as devices get more computing power and actually can do a lot of analytics on the device, and so that's where things are happening. And but I really appreciate that you take it to this level of trust, and that you basically say no, it's trust that has actually been shared across this continuum, and that's the and especially when we see now with things like with the whole with fake news and with data poisoning and sort of all these attacks on AI layers. The accurate and fair and trusted data is key. It's one of the most important elements.
If there's one word where how to replace Web3 with one word, it would be trust. Yeah. For me, if someone asked me to replace one word for Web3, is trust.
Yeah, because
that's what this DLT element will bring to different infrastructures. Let it be B2B, B2C, B2CCB, whatever you want, you know, B2G, every B or every two. It's yeah. So another element is also important is the ecological element, because in this in the orchestration, even if you still stay in the cloud edge IoT computing continuum, orchestration of this is one of the research areas, and despite what some may think, is not always the best to bring it to the edge. Yeah, because well, the sum of many is often more than the simple sum in the cloud. And so even the technology itself still needs benchmarking, and also on DLT there still is a lot of wrong perception. Luckily we also tackle that. In AIOTI we have the DLT testbeds, where we challenge the performance of different DLT protocols, and also the ecological footprint of the technologies. And that's also one of a kind activity, because so far no objective party like AIOTI has ever stepped into this area, especially on DLT. So far the only reports on energy efficiency of DLT was supplied by the providers themselves, by the protocol suppliers, but that's as credible as a butcher certifying his own meat. You know, people don't buy that. So it was really needed, because still DLT space is facing a lot of wrong perception on energy efficiency. Yeah, absolutely. So the ecological footprint of Bitcoin and so on, you know, there's a lot of it kind of give a bad impression of the whole DLT space, and let that also be one of the elements tackled in the AIOTI. So yeah, I'm a lot of things are ongoing. We have our membership also grow a lot, especially around these subjects. We have a great collaboration on the DLT testbeds with the Essex University, They have a cloud and edge infrastructure for benchmarking and protocol calculations and stuff. And beside this, we have a lot of members with implemented, so production grade and deployed DLT and blockchain implementations. So it's no longer just paperwork or paperware.
No,
we have software and hardware deployed. So we have demonstrators and in the different areas. So the accelerator itself will be around, or is focused around media, authorities, industry, and education.
Yeah.
And then we have a fifth pillar, which is convergence. We already have publications on convergence. This is driven by Links in Italy, Links Foundation. There will be I think in July, we will publish specifically around IoT, DLT, and AI convergence.
Nice, yeah.
So, with demonstrators. So this will be a part theoretic mapping of the different elements in the different enabling technologies. And this will also show that, like you said, and the picture also shows everything is coming together. All the enabling technologies are coming together. There is no corner of blockchain, or there is no corner of AI. And IoT is no longer a thing of sensors and networks. IoT is like everything, you know. IoT is actually the glue in all that. It's where DLT sits, it's where the business models are, and even that, the perception of IoT, we still need to do a lot of evangelization, because a lot of people still think this is about sensors and networks, and it's somewhere in a corner. But this whole thing, I mean, if you think about things, and if you think like an algorithm or a data set is also a thing, or a ledger is also a thing, now that Internet of Things actually is Internet of everything.
Yeah.
So Web 3.0 is Internet of everything. Yeah. And in there is a piece of IoT, DLT, AI, you know, the whole thing. Yeah. I really, let's make a whole day event about this, man. Let's make it happen.
Yes, I fully agree. I just don't like the term Internet of Everything, because it's fully Cisco. So Cisco,
is it?
Yes, Cisco and Qualcomm came with it, and so it's basically very much a Cisco term, and that is not problematic because it is Cisco, but it's problematic because it's a company with a specific ecosystem. So when in the 70s IBM tried pervasive computing, people didn't really use the term because they were in the IBM ecosystem. And when Xerox PARC used ubiquitous computing in the 90s, it was the same. When Philips pushed ambient intelligence in 2000, the term could have catched on. It was a very, very good term to describe what's going on, but it didn't, because then companies would be in the Philips ecosystem if they would use ambient intelligence. And so the beauty of the Internet of Things is that it was coined by Kevin Ashton in 1999, a product manager from Procter & Gamble, coming from RFID, but there was no, it doesn't have an industrial kind of backing or background.
Okay.
So I fully agree with you that it has become the Internet of Everything.
I found it myself. I never I didn't know that Cisco minted the
Cisco
term.
is pushing it. Yeah, Cisco and Qualcomm are the only ones kind of pushing it.
I will still continue to use it, but thanks for teaching me this, Rob. But I will still continue to use it, but maybe now with a little bit more of voorzichtigheid.
Yeah, but I fully agree, and I think it's also really good to see that it's coming together in Europe in such a good way. And we should now also we would want to also see this sort of linked up in some way with the notion of sovereignty, or some kind of technological sovereignty or digital sovereignty of Europe. And so I think it's just great to see that it's happening.
I think the data sovereignty will be at the individual, you know.
Yeah.
I think in Europe, there was an initiative of European Cloud Federation to have European data sovereignty. I don't want to mention the name, but that somehow deviated. So I think we had the chance. Now we need to look at individual data sovereignty, and the technology provided. It will just depend on application builders to implement it.
Yeah,
so that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
is there so you say there's a lot of members, and then are there also some events that you're going to have or set up?
Yes, we have. So beside our regular, so I invite everyone looking at this to join the AIOTI membership. Depending on the size of the organization, it's actually a cheap way of engagement. But so we have our regular bi-weekly and monthly working groups on call, remote.
Yeah.
And specific to the Web3 accelerator, we have which is a task force. We have parallel activities, like I mentioned, with the 5 different tracks. Testbeds are very active, and some of the elements, obviously the industrial and the convergence. Media, we're looking for a sponsorship, which hopefully in the next weeks we will make a great post about it if it succeeds, when it succeeds. So we'll have these, we have these ongoing tracks. This is happening already. And more specific, also to attract more public to the subject and to enable the audience. We have a hackathon in the planning for September that will be online, but I hope to do also a piece of hybrid, potentially also some event live in Brussels, but that is being negotiated actually these days. So we have the hackathon is a crucial event. And then on the 10th of October in Brussels, live, we have our yearly signature event, in which the Web3 accelerator will claim an important part, in which we will give results, and the winners of the hackathon, for example, will get exposure. We'll also start after that, or on that day, we onboard a lot of users to different applications, because we really want to go into the practice. We want to end this year with an important user base on different deployed use cases. We already have the use cases. We just want to create a federation of interconnected use cases. Think about sharing. I don't want to go too deep in the technical elements, but so this is important. So the hackathon is a milestone, and the signature event on 10th of October. And in between, we have all the working groups. So we have a lot of ongoing activities. Anyone interested in the subjects can just hook up in any moment. It's an ongoing activity. Especially the testbeds are booming now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. I think this has been a great introduction to the European Web3 Accelerator. And we will post this on the council website, on the internetthings.eu, and also put up some links to all the things that you've been addressing and talking about.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Thank you. And everyone seeing this at any moment in time, everyone's welcome, and see you soon. Yep. Bye, Rob.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom.
Bye. Peace.